All right, next geners, what is going on? We are off, and we're going to kick off episode number 1, the official first episode, talking about something. I got a lot of questions when I mentioned this. I was going to do this podcast and talk about college recruiting and everything else. We're going to talk about that recruiting video. It's really important. It's kind of like that first introduction, it's that first look for a lot of the schools to see you when they open up that email, and you have that, that YouTube link that we're going to get into in a second, and click, boom, there you are, right into it. So we're going to dive into that. What makes a good recruiting video? What are the steps? What are some of the parameters? What makes a bad recruiting video? What you need to do, and what mom and dad needs to do at the fence to get that video right, so that recruiter actually opens it and they actually watch it and they actually want to follow up. So super important. Before we get into that, I just want to say a massive happy new year. It's 2023. NxtGen Baseball, we have our camps coming up in the USA. I just did a great camp with Blake Snell. It was awesome. Aussies, I know a lot of you are going to be listening to this podcast because this concerns you when it comes to how you get recruited, especially with the video when you're 7,000 miles away. So massive happy new year to you. NxtGen is coming back to Australia in 2023, fully operational. I can't wait to get back, and we've got some really good things. Plus, some amazing opportunities bringing kids to the US on the showcasing side, and also on the development side, which is a big one we'll get into as we get into some of these episodes. But also, too, coming back for camps, I've got some really good things in the works. So I can't wait, guys. So a big shout out to all my Australian NxtGeners. Kids in the US, I love you. I've had a chance to work with you the last couple of years. We had Blake Snell, everything else. But around the world, let's get right into the college recruiting video. Now, a couple of things with this. Now, Australians, you don't get a chance to showcase, obviously, nowhere near the same amount. So that video is really, really important. The other reason it's really important, too, is because a lot of these schools have really leaned on it pretty heavily ever since COVID. Now, they can get out and they can recruit. But after COVID, it was kind of like this system where they get hundreds of emails a day. They really do. Okay, let's not lie about that. When you write that big email and you write this giant novel of an email and you got this Google Drive link that they're going to click 5 times, they're just not going to open it. So we're going to get into that later on. But let's talk about the video first of all. Now, this concerns mum and dad big time, right? Because they're the ones who are going to be at your games. If you're 15, 16 years old, you're that sophomore or that junior age, they're going to be at all your games, okay? So parents, if you have an iPhone, I know a lot of parents are listening. If you have an iPhone or a Samsung, that's good enough. You don't have to go get a GoPro. You don't have to go get a giant, huge HD camera. The iPhone camera is plenty good. And these recruiters are so used to seeing the iPhone lens anyway, right? Because they get so many videos of really good players and everything else. So iPhone is perfect. All right, so you have your iPhone, you're at the game. Now, couple big things to remember, and this is not always easy, especially I grew up in Australia on some of those backfields or, the wind's howling in the middle of summer or whatever it may be. The background is so important. And what I mean by that is this. You have your player, you've got, little Johnny in the batter's box, your son or whoever, or Uber prospect. The background, if he's playing third grade, for example, no offense, but if you've got some 40-year-old dude out there with a big gut and he's not wearing the uniform right, the recruiter's not going to even be looking at you saying, what league is this kid playing in? So the background's really important. Sometimes you can't control that, unfortunately, but when you're going to put in that nice little highlight reel, make sure you watch the background. What does it look like in the back? What does the pitcher look like? If the pitcher's only throwing 50 miles per hour, it's not going to look great on the recruiting video for hitters. Like when I'm saying, if your son's hitting and he's just smashing some kid who's throwing 50 miles per hour or 60 miles per hour, it's not going to help either. So the background's massive. Also the audio, okay? Make sure when you do these videos, when you put in the highlight clips, the good clips of, Johnny just smashing a home run, right? Make sure there's no, again, you can't control this, but if there's someone telling a whole gossip story in the deck chair next to you, and they're sitting there and they're talking about how the canteens jack the prices up, that's distracting too. So if it's a big moment in the game and they crush a home run and you can hear talking right next to you and it's distracting, just press mute on the video. Okay, we're going to get into some of the software you can use, which is absolutely free as well as we get going on. So what you see behind, what you hear is really distracting. The other thing is the wind. If you're going to send a video off, right, and I've helped a lot of kids, I'm willing to help a lot of kids with their videos. When you're going to send a video off to a college recruiter and the wind's howling, it is distracting as well. Again, sometimes you can't control these things, but just click mute. That's the easiest thing. Just press mute, okay? So if the angle, like for example, if you got a right-handed hitter and you're going to do that sort of that off to the side angle, and the third baseman, like I said, they're playing second grade, and he's a big unit. He doesn't look of age. Remember, these college recruiters are used to American kids where they're playing the same age kids. So if he's like, why is he playing against his 40-year-old? Just try and change the angle if you can, okay? If your son or daughter is crushing the ball on that particular day and you don't have a great background, just try your best to try and minimize some of the distractions in the background, okay? So that's step number one. So the setup is really important. If you can, I know you don't want to look like some crazy scout mum or dad. I get it. But if you can, use something to stabilize the camera. iPhones are great right now because you can stabilize. I go skiing with the kids and I'll ski right next to them. And I'm able to, the camera just automatically stabilizes. But make sure that thing is nice and stable. If you want to use a tripod, have at it. Again, I know you don't want to look like you're scouting for the Yankees. I get it. But use something to stabilize the camera, okay? All these little things, and you'll be surprised too. You're probably thinking, well, yeah, duh. But when you're in the moment and you're watching your son play or your daughter play, whatever, and you're watching them play, you don't quite think of some of these things. So it's really, really important. Okay, so that's number one, the setup, okay? If you can get behind, great. The chain link fence, try and make sure that camera, and you can keep clicking on your son or your daughter, the pitcher, the hitter, until the focus goes in on them. Sometimes you don't want to miss those big moments because you're hitting that chain link fence, right? That's another one. Get it from behind or get it off to the side. I like the off to the side because let's say, for example, if you're doing, for hitters especially, if he hits the ball, you can get that ball flight, okay? So behind or off to the side, okay? So a couple things you want to remember while you're recording. Number one, and mum and dad, or whoever's listening to this, whoever's setting your girlfriend or whoever's setting up the camera, record the pitch, right? Boom, give it just a little bit, off record. Record, off record, okay? When it comes to the post-production of this video, this super highlight video, the editing is going to be much easier to do. When you're going to film 3 or 4 games, it's going to be way easier to be able to do that. When you just go click, pitch, and he throws the pitch, and then off. Not too close. Now, if he whacks a ball, if you can, try and get that ball flight, okay? If he crushes the ball, so try and get an angle, if you can, from behind, where you can at least see that ball flight a good 50 meters worth. So they can really see the ball off the bat, okay? Super important as well. If you're filming batting practice, get the angle where it's a little lower, and where you can get a situation where if they're crushing the ball, backspinning that ball to either left center, left field, or whatever, try and get that ball flight the best you can. Okay, with the batting practice shot. That's another angle we're talking about. So we're only in the setup for right now. Okay, if you're filming a pitcher, off to the side's good because it can kind of show the hitter, and it does look good. I'll be honest with you. If your son's only throwing low velocity and that fastball beats the hitter, essentially you can basically send off the video and be like, they can ask how hard you throw later, but for right now, it looks like that fastball is really zapping past the hitter. That's important too. But behind is a really good angle. If you can get just off to the side where you can see the hitter, catcher, just off to the side and see some of the movement on that pitch. If your son has that big curveball, fastball, boom, big curveball, you can get a really good angle. Plus, you can see the hitter's reaction. Hitter's reaction is massive. We're going to get to something in a second here when it comes to game footage versus workout footage, just here in a second, okay? So the setup is, like I said, really important. Get rid of the distracting background. Get rid of the wind or the chatter next to you or the whatever it may be, okay? Sometimes, too, honestly, when it's if it's not like, yeah, good on you, mate, or something like that. But if it's a good clap or something after he crushes the ball, or you can watch, your son round second base into third base, or the home run trot after he crushes, hey, magic. Because then the recruiter's like, man, he just absolutely crushed that ball. Okay, that's another good one. So they're kind of the angles we're talking about. Now, when it's time to go to edit this video, there's a couple free options. I like to use on my iPhone, and this is good for kids too, when they're sitting there on the school bus, instead of going onto your TikTok, get onto your Splice and start cutting your recruiting video up, okay? So you can get on there. It's really easy. You just use your finger. You can slide. You can edit in and out, right? And you get that good pitch, boom, just enough of cushion after it, right into the next pitch, okay? Splice is a great one. Another good one, a little easier to use, especially for parents if you have a MacBook. I like to use, just when I'm cutting a quick video or someone sends me some giant 6-minute video, I got to cut that down into a minute. iMovie works great too because it's super easy. You can just go Command-C, I think it's Command-B or whatever it is, to cut up all the sections as well. That's another good one too, iMovie. There's a bunch of good ones, but Splice, like I said, good on the phone, on the school bus on the way to school, or just sitting at home instead of being on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, is always a good one. Let's talk about the length, okay? This is how it works. And we're going to get into the emails here in a second, but no longer than a minute. Now, you might be thinking, man, but I've just like punched out like 20 dudes. Give them, less is more. Give them just a little bit. That first initial viewing of you should be nice and short, no more than a minute, okay? Because this is what happens. They see it like, oh, hey, video looks good, we're interested or whatever. They respond, and then they're going to ask you, hey, where can we see you play? Obviously, if you're in Australia, it's a little tougher to get over. You might be off to some showcase or whatever, but less is more. Now, I can talk about communication on an email, back and forth, how you negotiate for yourself and how you become your representative. That's something I do very well for some of my kids, and sometimes it's detrimental when the kid's already spoken to a school before I get a chance. Okay, we can talk about that later, but when it comes to the email, when it comes to the video, 1 minute max on the initial video. That's the rule, okay? And for pitches, you don't want a situation where it's just strike three, strike three, strike three. For pitches, try and show like a sequence, right? So a 4-pitch sequence, fastball, you see the umpire call it a strike. Make sure you see the umpire. You might spike a pitch. That's okay. Just show that, because it's showing the recruiter that, you know what, this kid's not just going to try and show us every punch out for the last 2 years. He's going to actually show us some sequencing. They want to see the sequencing, but they just don't have the time on that first couple videos to see all the in between, you walking around the mound or whatever. They just don't have time to see that, right? It's got to be quick. So pitch, boom. And then you can go another pitch, ball one, another pitch, foul ball, whatever. Another pitch, zap, strikeout, thank you. Only a minute. So in other words, you should be getting pretty much nothing but strikeouts. Okay, it should look like nothing but strikeouts, pretty much. But show the sequencing. If you can show a couple different angles and a couple different games where it may be where they know it's a different game. So if you got a different union or if it's a different team you're facing, but make sure you show those sequences. Hitters, if you're hitting right now, make sure you basically, if you can, I've said this earlier, you can show the hit, boom, and you can show that ball flight, show you around in the bases if you got speed, but the hits are the big ones for you guys, okay? Obviously, you don't have to show the whole at bat. Show the hits. With the fielding, it's very hard for mum and dad. They're not going to keep a camera on the whole game. It's tough in live games. So the fielding is going to have to be as a quote-unquote workout style as opposed to in-game. The hitting, get the in-game stuff. When it comes to fielding, or if you're catching, or if you're playing the outfield, get those reps. Again, background is important, so don't go on the back of some cricket oval for the Aussies or wherever. Get that nice background if you can, and get that where you're catching that ball, or you infielders, you're picking up and throwing. Look smooth. Have some presence too when you do it. I see this all the time. Kids send me a video and they're doing a workout, whatever, and they come in, throw it, and they just kind of put their head down. Like, no, guys, you have to show your best self in that first initial communication with that college recruiter, okay? So that's really, really important. No longer than a minute. Now, when you make your second video, if they come back to you, and you got to have this stuff loaded up, okay? You may be on I'm not going to tell you to stall to send stuff out to schools. You got to have this stuff ready to roll. So have your minute, then have your little extended version, whether that be you show the same thing to them that you just showed in a minute, but maybe a couple other at-bats, maybe a weak ground ball for pitches, maybe a line drive instead of you just crushing homers or taking BP and hitting, or extra reps. What you do, you have your 1 minute, your really nice little, reel. That's what we call it, broadcasting. Your 1 minute reel, and then on top of that, you mix that in with a couple extra pitches. What I would suggest, maybe some at bats, and maybe you ask them, "Hey, do you want to see full at bats? Do you want to see a full outing?" And you can still edit that too. Okay, if they say, "Oh, we want to see, full inning, start to finish." Okay. Which happens sometimes. If you go whack, you can edit it to still cut out the hit, but still looks like you're getting 3 outs in the inning. Okay, so a couple little tricks like that. But that first video is really, really, really important. Okay, because that's the one they write back and they're going to say, "Oh, come to this showcase." And again, this is for another episode when we talk about showcasing. But that's really, really important. Okay, so let's talk about where you put the video. Parents and players, this is what I need you to do. Number one, and I should have spoke about this before we even started. If you have social media, whether it be Instagram or Twitter or TikTok, I know you're all on TikTok or whatever, clean it up. If you've got videos of you trying to look all gangster or cool or whatever, if you're holding a beer or something for some of your older kids, or if you're doing something that your parents would shake their head and not think that's cool, well, then the rule is the college recruiter is not going to think that's cool. You're not going to go to that school, right? I've seen it all the time. I had one kid, I'm not going to mention names, but I said, "Bro, we are talking to this school. I need you to clean up that Instagram." It was him, with his boys, with like his chain he got from the kiosk at the mall, and he's holding a beer. I'm like, "Bro, let's clean it up." So I want you to be squeaky clean, absolute, act your age. In other words, if I'm a college pitching coach and I'm recruiting kids, I'm just going to roll my eyes at you trying to be super cool like you're 25 years old. Act like you're 16 years old, okay? That doesn't mean you have to be a dork or anything like that, but just clean it up. Have some photos with your friends, big smile on your face. That's totally fine. Have a ton of baseball content. Make sure it's good, though. Remember, they're going to be looking at all your baseball content. But clean up the social media. I'm saying, I know you're cool with your friends and you want to try and impress girls by sitting on a boat or what. I don't know what it is. But come on, man. You will impress girls or you'll impress whatever when you're playing D1 college baseball at the end of the road. You understand what I'm saying? Or if you get drafted. Clean up. And parents, if you're listening to this, make sure the kids listen to say, "You know what, Ryan's saying, I have to clean up my stuff too. I broadcast. I'm trying to put myself out there for big opportunities, etc. I have to clean it up. There's some stuff I think that's cool or funny or even stuff I'm doing around the house. I have to clean it up. You can't overexpose yourself because that will just go, yep, next." Remember, there's 1,000 kids emailing. Let's talk about how the video presents on the email. Another episode, I'm going to talk about what to say in the email, but just for now, right? We're going to get to that, and I'll make sure you scroll down and look at the link for that. But when it comes to this, has to be a YouTube link, right? YouTube link. All these college recruiters are not going to go into the attachment. They're not going to go into the Google Drive, right? They're just not. They have to go one click, boom, you're up there. Okay? Super important. So if you don't have a YouTube channel, just create at Tommy Smith Baseball or whatever, right? If you do have a YouTube account, clean it up just like the Instagram. Don't put it on with you doing stuff with your mates or your friends or whatever. Have that separate YouTube account. Make the video. Your video can be public if you're happy with the 1 minute. The 3 minutes and the longer videos or whatever else you got on there, unlisted. Okay, it doesn't have to be private. Unlisted. All right. And for the video, the recruiting video, you can make it public. It's 1 minute. All it says on there, Tom Smith, grade year, height, weight, and position. In the description, you can say fastball 85, 88, and you can fudge the numbers if you want. If you've hit that 188, you can say, 85, sit 80, I sit 86, touching 88 or whatever. Okay. You can say that. You can claim that. That's totally fine. Remember, by the time you get through this process, you're probably going to be throwing 88, 89 anyway. So in the description, you can say fastball, curveball, slider, change, whatever. But just another good point of reference is just throw your email in the description as well. So put your email back. So somehow maybe this college recruiter has been sent this text message from a friend or another coach, or hey man, you guys might like this. Have your email in the description. They shouldn't be fishing for someone else to go get your contact details. Make sure you put your email where they can contact you in the description. Okay. So like I said, let's do a quick recap of that. Name, you don't have to say you're from Sydney, Australia. Just say name, height, weight. You can say your grade. Don't say date of birth. Just say your grade year, and then have LHP, left-handed pitcher, or outfielder, or whatever it is. And then you can put some of your metrics in the description. 60, I run a 6'7", 60, or a infield velo, blah 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 blah. Just list it. Don't write a big, hi, my name is Tom Smith, and I'm from blah, blah, blah. They're just not going to read it, okay? So make sure you just put those key attributes in the description, and off you go. Now, when you send the email out to these recruiters, I want you to go over that video and go over it again and go over it again. Hey, you can send it to me too. Send me the link, and I'll say yeah, and I'll help you with that video, no problem whatsoever. But make sure you go over it, because remember, sometimes this is your only chance with some of these schools. When you send the email and you say, hi, this is so-and-so, put the link up the top of the email. These schools get thousands of these. Don't write this giant novel. We're going to get into what you write in the email in another episode. But I want you to put that big blue fat link with bold in the top of the email. Hi, this is Tom Smith. I really like your program, whatever it is, right at the top. Don't put it down the bottom. They're not going to go through the whole thing. They're just not. They might open it up and go, oh, Tom Smith, he's a grade year, blah, blah, blah. We need an infielder. Click, off you go. Okay? Really, really important. If you do have and just back to the description real quick, if you do have perfect game numbers or a profile and you're happy with the profile, if you're not, don't put it on there. If you're happy with the profile, put the link up to that as well. Okay? That's just a good easy context for them to look at. The other thing is too, a couple more things before I forget, if I'm making sure I'm trying to hit everything here. If you, I lost my train of thought. If let's say your velocity is kind of low, which, look, that was me, right? I didn't throw super hard. And if you don't feel like your velocity is impressive, don't put in the video. Just don't. Keep them guessing. Make that video looks good with you throwing gas. Keep them guessing. Maybe he throws 95. Okay. Don't put if you're throwing, let's say you're a left-handed pitcher and your grade year is in 2024, right? And you're pumping 79. Don't do video and then show the radar gun, please. The pocket radar. If you are though pumping gas, like if you throw that pitch and it's 90, it's 87, 88, whatever, boom, flash up the pocket radar, okay? And you can, again, you can edit that in your video quite easily as well. So I hope that helped with some of the videos, okay? The YouTube page is basically, it's just a blank slate with your video. You can have it public, take that back. All your other ones are unlisted. Clean up the social media. They're going to click on you. Then they're going to search you on social media. Then they're going to write you back. Boom, in that order. Watch the video. Oh, this kid's good. They're going to try and search. The only way they can find more info about you, obviously your email, but more info about the kind of kid you are, is social media. They look it up all the time, or make it private or whatever. Okay, but just clean it up. It's not impressive. No offense, kids, but 15, 16, and you're trying to act like your favorite rapper or whatever. Please don't. All right, parents, I know you're nodding your head at this as well. Okay, so that's the video. Any questions, just shoot me a message at NxtGen Baseball at NxtGen Baseball on Instagram and Twitter, or you can even I believe you can write back the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can just put in the comments, and I'll add some information there as well if I did forget anything. Oh yeah, hey, real quick, sorry. 2 more things I nearly forgot. I just looked on my paper. You don't have to do this. Hi, my name's Tom Smith and I'm from blah, blah, blah. Big, the big intro of you where you're looking straight at the camera. Please don't. They just don't have time to do that. They don't need to see that. They just want to see you play in that first 1 minute. You don't have to, and no offense, but usually 15, 16, 17-year-olds, unless you have a really good stage presence, it is kind of like, it does put you on the back foot when it comes to how you presence and how you present yourself. Don't do the whole, hi, this is blah, 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 blah. You don't need graphics either, okay? You don't need any of that stuff. Just let them watch. If you throw a curveball, just let them watch the curveball, etc. Don't need any of that, like curveball, blah, blah, blah. None of that stuff, okay? No intro and no graphics or anything like that. I nearly forgot. Try and do with the 1 minute if you can, especially hitters too. If you haven't corral enough good game footage, pitchers, hitters, whatever, do 50-50 or 70-30, do some workout stuff. So you can mix it in amongst the video. You taking BP, good low shot, nice field, not on some cricket oval or some backfield, nice field. Maybe we can see a fence or you can see some sort of, so they have an idea how far you're hitting the ball. Have someone throwing BP who looks good, smooth batting practice. I know it's not always easy. And if you can't get them to throw good batting practice or it looks kind of off remember we talked about that at the beginning, then just kind of angle the camera a little bit away from the BP thrower. But just try and get low enough where you can see the flight of that ball, okay? Really, really important. The workout aspect of this too is good. Infield, if you play second base, third base, just get reps at shortstop. Show that you're a shortstop. Pick the ball. Vroom. They can move a shortstop to second and third base. Again, we can talk about that another time. Be a shortstop. Get the reps at shortstop on the dirt. Pick it up. Vroom, and then have that presence. Walk around like you own the place. We talk about that all the time. At NxtGen, have that presence. Okay. All right, guys. This was fun. I'm glad I'm glad we finally got this thing rolling here in late January. It's 2023. Big year for NxtGen Baseball. Please reach out with any questions you have, and I will answer them on this podcast in the beginning of next episode. All right, mates, we will see you again in the next episode when we cover everything to do with college recruiting, how to build a throwing program, whatever you need to know about. All right, guys, we'll see ya.